All right, so we're going to take a look at solving a system of inequalities. Please pardon the band practice in the background. I'm doing this after school while the band's practicing. Even though we love our former state champion band, we're just, it's going to have to be something that you hear and maybe in the background of this video. If you don't hear it, don't worry about it. So we're going to look at solving a system of inequalities. And when we look at this system of inequalities, the same thing applies with normal graphing of equations. You want it in that format of mx plus b to help you out and make graphing a little bit easier. But you are not always going to be graphing a solid line. And you're not just looking for one point where they cross because you have shading as well. So we're going to start with the one that's already set up and easy, ready to go. The y is greater than 3x minus 4. And we're going to begin our graph at negative 4. Our slope is 3, so we're going to go up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, and we're going to connect our dots. But because this does not have an equal to sign, we are going to use what we call a dotted or dashed line because the points on the line will not work. We're also going to shade. Shading means we're going to take this and we're going to look at this sign that is a greater than sign, and we're going to shade above the line. Be careful. Make sure that you shade above the line, not to the left or to the right. Put your finger on this line and shade up. That is where the y values are greater. On the other one, we are going to have to get y by itself in this one, so we are going to have to do a little bit of solving, and it's got a little tricky spot on this one. If you subtract x over to the other side, you're going to get negative x plus 3. But you also have a negative 2 that you need to divide, and anytime you divide by a negative number, you have to flip an inequality symbol around. So from less than here to a greater than. The negative 1 divided by negative 2 is positive 1/2 x. 3 divided by negative 2 is negative 3/2. And so it is basically the same idea of what you normally do with an equation, but now you have an inequality symbol. So we are going to begin our graph at negative 3/2 or negative 1.5. Then we're going to go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. I'm sorry about my dots not being right there. This one does have a solid line because it is equal to, and so we will draw a solid line that goes across our graph through those points as close as you can get, and you will see shading greater than that line, so you shade above that line. So make sure you put your finger on the line and shade above that line. So the solutions for both inequalities fall in this area that is up here in this corner, because that is where the shaded area intersects for both of them. So when you look at this, this is called the solution region. You do not always have to write that word, but it is helpful when you get into some higher levels of math if you know how to find the solution region, because you get into a little bit more complicated relationships and a little bit more complicated problems that you do with the solution region. So knowing where it's at is critical. For me in my class, as long as you can show me that you know where it's at, either by pointing at it with an arrow, or I can tell that it's the darker area, you let me know somehow, then that is enough for solving the system of inequalities.